Um, is the music coming through? Oh, good. It's off. Only I can hear the music. All right. Check 1 2. Check 1 1 1. All right. Check 1 2. All right. Well, this is cool. I can hear the music, but you can't. Um, so we're gonna. All right, folks. Let's do some. Let's do some. All right. Well, this technology here. Let's see. Benny Rodriguez, what's up, my friend? Tra! Let me turn off this music. I realize you cannot hear the music, which is cool because that way I don't have the copyright shit. Benny, how are you, man? And I always do I do a special reverb for you. Let's see. Hey, we got to get the Benny Rodriguez reverb. Let's see what we got here. Cables and wires and oh my. Cables and wires, oh my. I'm using my pawn shop special mixer here. $35, folks. An Alesis multi-mix. It's also a AN. Is it AN USB? A USB interface. So I love to. All right, let's get put it with chamber. Benny, I mean, you're worth the trouble, bro. I got to make this right. 36, okay. There we go. Hey, yeah. Yeah. There we go. Benny Rodriguez. There we go. No, it's got to be dramatic, man. Get that radio thing going. How are you? How are you, my friend? How's life treating you? Let's see. I'm gonna put. You know what? I'll put a little thing up on. Put a little thing up on the Instagram. The gram, as the kids call it. Okay, that's cool. How's everyone doing? So, it's early, so people are still arriving. We always get a few people to check in with this madness. We got a couple news items today, and we got my buddy Jair-Rohm Parker Wells is going to stop by just to chat and talk about being on tour and his music scene and his new music. And we chat a bit today about the tour he's on, the music he's doing, and his raw vegan lifestyle. So we're going to check in with that. Multitasking here. But what's cool is, the AI stuff. We got to talk about that. So many of these issues, the AI stuff and how that ties in. Because I just did a talk text. I'm just doing a post without even typing it. Actually, I'm fixing it a little bit now. But yeah, Jair-Rohm and I go back to the 80s, would see each other's bands back then. And he's been playing bass for kinds of incredible projects. We'll go over that, but Lunar Bear and different things with Bob Musso. He's done a lot with Bob Musso. Done a lot with Bob and done a lot with people from that Orange Music Circle, that great studio that coughed up so much great stuff from Bill Laswell and Public Image Limited and some of Tony Williams' last recordings. So Jair-Rohm is part of that. Part of that world, I guess you can call it, that universe even. Let's go bigger than world. All right. I'm always doing some production while I do this. It's very unprofessional, but that's how we roll. Why be professional when even our government officials aren't? No, we should be the better example, right? Okay, cool. So I've got let me pull up his website too, and some fun things going on there. So what's everyone doing? What's the what's for lunch today? What did y'all have for lunch? That's always where we start. And that's kind of biased for the East Coast thing because it's after lunchtime here. But I cannot seem to fix this web link. Well, we'll start with what you had for lunch. Put that in the chat. And there we go. Okay. I also got to make sure my YouTube is open because we got some people on YouTube who check in, you know. Let's just see. Okay, cool. That works. Let's look at the YouTube feed. And as a couple people refuse to be on Facebook, which I don't blame you. Right? It's such a stupid thing at the end of the day. So let me respect the YouTube folks. Lee Gollin's usually there. Anthony Garone is sometimes there. Anthony Alexander is sometimes there. Respect. But Facebook, that's where it starts. Jack, how are you, Jack Pyra? You had wheatgrass juice, I was thinking about wheatgrass the other day because thinking about like this prepper kind of attitude and how you're going to feed yourself when some collapses happen, which are normal in society and increasingly normal the way we're going. And we were talking about it the other day. We were looking at the dandelions in our yard going, well, we like dandelion greens, so that's a start. But no, really, we grow some crops when it's crops. That sounds like we grow a few things, a few peppers and tomatoes, and we've done cukes before. We did potatoes a couple years ago, which was really cool. You got to grow a lot of them to get a yield, but we got some amazing little potatoes, and let me tell you, they were absolutely delicious, just ridiculous, so tasty. But nothing like potatoes right after you pull them out of the dirt. But, growing some things is a smart idea, right? So we do, vegetables, cherry tomatoes, parsley. I think we've done cilantro, like 6 types of peppers, eggplant, scallions, garlic, lettuce. But time to really look at that, folks. I mean, have a little bit of food or a little access to growing some food because You never know. So sprouts, though, is another one. And wheatgrass. So wheatgrass, Jack, thanks for reminding me because that grows really easy. I've grown that in the past. Get some wheat berries, soak them, and very easy to grow. What a powerful food, though, right? Wheatgrass, pure chlorophyll, live sunlight in a liquid form once you juice it out of the wheatgrass. But sprouts, mushrooms, little herbs, micro herbs. A friend of mine just sent me his greenhouse pictures where they're doing some stuff inside the house year round. So I love that people are looking at this. Oh man, I got something in my eye. Excuse me. The collapse will be on the internet, not in real life. Yeah, largely, yes. The internet isn't the internet already kind of in collapse. Real life, though. Well, what is real life? We can get into a whole matrix discussion, but I think there's a fair amount of collapse already happening in the solid 3D world. There's certainly environmental collapse, which is a big inspiration for this show. Every day we see some stuff, right? The stuff with the Arctic and this and that. The extreme weather on the West Coast and other parts of the USA, and then everything's ramping up as the very, I was going to say simple, but it's not simple, but in a way, it's the release of more water into the system, as we know. It's pretty easy science to understand. Creates just more of everything, more floods, more of the ice melting. In Antarctica, recently there was a big thing about massive chunk of Antarctica falling off. So all this water goes into the system. The storms are bigger because they pick up more water in certain systems around the world. The tornadoes are stronger because then this connects to that. So yeah, there's a fair amount of collapse. Now, let's really make sure we identify that collapse is only as perceived by humans, right? Because it's otherwise just planetary stuff that we have encouraged. We have encouraged it with 200 odd years of industrialization and putting all the soot and carbon outputs into the atmosphere. The first human who burnt a piece of wood started putting human-sourced pollution into the atmosphere. But, of course, there was natural fires, right? Anytime there was a forest fire, half a billion years ago, no humans were doing that, but that was creating particulates in the atmosphere. So once we started, though, it's been kind of a straight or a curve, just up to where we are now. And so yeah, there's that collapse that we're working on. So the revolution will not be televised. Revolution will not be televised. Love Gil Scott-Heron. That is one of my spirit animals. Did you know, in my long years of writing about music and reviewing music and writing my book right now and being published in school newspapers, a couple of them, but also actual real newspapers, like a couple in Central Jersey, the Two River Times, the Hub, two major papers in Monmouth County. I think I had something in the Asbury Park Press once, and maybe the Home News or something in Middlesex County. It's all a blur. Almost 40 years of writing. So it's another side of what I do. But I wrote a lot for two magazines, one called Budo, which is kind of a Buddhist martial arts / Eastern philosophy little magazine that was out for many years in Red Bank area, New Jersey, down the shore area, Asbury Park. And I wrote the kind of natural lifestyle, natural foods, topics, food news article, and I found a bunch of them the other day, and I was like, wow, okay, this is not bad at all, and so I'm going to put them up on the web at some point. But my point is, and there's always a point. My very first interview for the Livingston Medium newspaper at Rutgers University, I interviewed Gil Scott-Heron in 1985. And I got a cover story to preview and then review his show. Got to interview him. It's funny. 1985, I was 20 years old. I didn't have the equipment. I was like, well, how am I going to record this? I actually dragged, I'm looking at one right here, a cassette deck. And those of you of a certain age know cassette decks, what they look like. I got one right here. I have a few. I trash pick them and find them in pawn shops. But I took a home tape deck in the afternoon. You know, it was agreed upon to meet him with a microphone and stuck it in and recorded this interview there. So I have a cassette somewhere that I'm going to find. But Gil Scott-Heron, wow, I would not be the person I am without a number of people, my parents, but and I'm saying intellect-wise, political-wise, my dad reading The Nation, my parents being very progressive. But as I went on, and in my teens, discovering Gil Scott-Heron, Frank Zappa, Angela Davis, Dick Gregory, who I knew about as a child, George Carlin in a peripheral way. He's a comedian, but, Richard Pryor, all the satirist type people, National Lampoon. So thank you for the Gil Scott-Heron memory there that sent me down a rabbit hole. Okay, so you had a kale salad. Would I walk him off for a Camel? Yes, for a real one, not for the cigarette. How many miles per gallon do camels get? A lot, right? Isabel, hey, how are you, my friend? Charlie Green, likewise, how are you, my friend? What did you have for lunch today? I'm going to share my lunch shortly because it was really good. Sometimes I don't eat yet when I do this. Or I've had a shake or something like that. I've been trying to do that. Had a really good shake today. I found this Garden of Life, which is a company I've known for many years when I was in the profession, natural foods. Old company, and they are pretty happening, and they've got some cool protein powders. Okay, cool. I see my guest Jair-Rohm is here, and okay, let's bring him in. Yeah, let's stay with the desert. I did an acoustic performance yesterday, as I do every Sunday. I always forget to plug that. I do something called Acoustic Sunday as part of my Patreon, and I mess around with the with the backgrounds. And I can't reach it, but I do a lot of oud stuff, and kind of thematically with the oud. I was out in the Middle East here with the background. So all right, well let's bring Jair-Rohm on. Hey, what's up, bro? Can you hear me? You can hear me? Okay. And
do you hear me? Is it too noisy back here?
I can hear you. It's a little noise, but
yeah, I'm at a Starbucks actually.
Okay. How do I do this?
I'll mute when I'm not talking.
Oh yeah. Okay, that's great. There we go. Okay, great. So we got you live. All right, man. Well, welcome, and I'll set it up for folks also and let them know. Well, you know what? Let's start with your website, because your website is banging, man. I have not. This is a new site, or it's an updated site. I have not seen it before with some of the new stuff on it. But that's as great of an intro as any, right? We can start there, and just to introduce people. So I've known Jair-Rohm since the 80s. We were at New Brunswick, New Jersey, Rutgers University, that whole scene, the Court Tavern, and all the other clubs, that names I forget. But we'd see each other playing around different gigs and stuff. And then he split off to travel the world and do a lot of amazing stuff. But yeah, a great website. We're gonna put this in the chat so people can check it out themselves. Oops, I just went to Ableton. All right, that's a mistake. Let me go back here. Okay, there we go. I'm working on 35 different things. That's why I got all those links open. But there he is, Mr. Parker Wells, and playing one of his beautiful basses. Is that a Ned Steinberger?
Yes, it is. They always are.
They always are. Yeah, I thought so. So beautiful bass, and he is electronic musician, eclectic musician, and we're going to talk about a bunch of the stuff he's doing right now. He's out on a tour right now, which I'm glad he hit me to. So I was like, wow, stop by the show, man. There's his studio where all the madness happens, or a lot of it.
Actually, that's one of the studios at M's in Stockholm.
Oh, okay, in Stockholm?
Yeah, I was in residence there 2027.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, so well, this is great. I'll let people go in and read this. But, oh, yeah, it's definitely kind of, is someone playing music there?
Yeah, it's definitely hyped.
That's wild how we can hear the music. Is that the music in the coming off the ceiling, or?
Yep.
Okay. So, all right. Well, this is it'll be kamikaze. You don't have earphones or any earbuds to plug in, do you?
Yeah, I'm wearing them actually.
Oh, wow. So that's microphone. Okay, it is what it is, and it's a little bit of a kamikaze.
Sometimes if I use only one AirPod, it's better.
Okay. Yeah, try that. Try that, and I'll tell people real briefly. As I was saying earlier before you came on, a lot of years with Machine Gun.
Yeah.
And with Robert Musso and Thomas Chapin, the late Thomas Chapin, and let's see here.
Is that audio better now? Now that I'm just using the one.
It's about the same. So yeah, just mute when you're not talking. I think you can set it up to, if you just spacebar when you need it on.
Yeah.
But many years with Machine Gun, which is an incredible band, a very influential band on my head and my understanding of improvised music, and thinking that's the way to go. That is a wild roller coaster ride. And I was listening to some strange jazz and things like Coltrane and Eric Dolphy and Zappa and stuff like that at that time. But to see it live, to see these guys create sculptures every night, was very inspiring. So if you don't know Machine Gun, check them out. I'll let you read his whole bio here, but this man has been all around the musical world, working with Buchla and Surge modular systems, which I love all that, and working with people like Daniel Carter, our dear friend in common, the amazing New York-based sax player, working with Jaron Lanier, without whom a lot of what we're talking about today with AI and virtual reality and all that would not be here. Amazing history. So we'll come back to that. Let's see. So cool. So tell us a little bit where you are right now. You're in Colorado, I think, right? But tell us a little bit of where you are.
Yeah, I'm in Denver. We did a 3-show run here in Colorado. Started in Boulder, played the lovely Fox Theater there. It's absolutely fantastic. And then we did 2 nights at a venue here in Denver called So Many Roads, where we pretty much play twice a year, usually April and October. So that was great, wonderful. And I have a day off before I fly home to take care of some business, and then we continue in Chicago this Friday. So yeah, this is getting towards the end of a 17-show run. We've been out since 22nd of March. Most of that was in Florida, because the music is very, very popular in Florida. A lot of deadheads in Florida. And yeah, so we're just, finishing it up. We will finish up in New England in May.
Well, that's cool, and I'm gonna put a link up for people. This is the group is called Rainbow Full of Sound, and they're doing music of the Grateful Dead. So
that's right. We're actually sponsored to a great extent by the Jerry Garcia Foundation, with whom we work quite closely. You probably saw on my website and stuff, I'm on the board of the Jerry Garcia Foundation. So 31st of last month, we did a benefit show in Isla Mirada, Florida, where we presented and auctioned some of Jerry's original artwork, because as many people might not know, Jerry was also a painter, in fact a pioneering digital artist. He was working with digital painting on the early Mac 128. So he pioneered digital art in ways that a lot of people really need to get hip to. He created a lot of really beautiful work. So yeah, we staged this event at the diving museum, in collaboration with the diving museum in Isla Mirada, where we presented Jerry's art and raised money for Jerry's charity, that it's an oceans preservation charity that he started, because Jerry was a certified diver. So he was very concerned about the coral reefs and whatnot. So he set up that foundation to contribute to the preservation of the reefs. So yeah, we did this magnificent event. Band played. Tony Saunders, the son of the organist Merle Saunders, who had the Saunders Garcia band together with Jerry.
Sure.
Tony and I did a duo set, 2 bass players. And and then Peter Agalasto from the Star Archive. He's the archivist for the Bob Dylan and now Jerry Garcia catalogs. He was there. He did a talk, and Shells and Vine, which is a very, very high class original music act that is kind of a cross between a Fleetwood Mac and Big Brother sort of thing. Very, very, very interesting music. Very good. They opened. So yeah, all in all, it was a very, very successful event. Raised some money for ocean preservation, and it was just a wonderful time.
That's awesome. I mean, I know that Jerry was a diver. Yeah, I've definitely seen photos of that, and I knew he was a painter. Right, I forgot about that, and I forgot that main point that he was doing early digital stuff. Right, I remember reading some interview, and at the time that was crazy talk. I mean, I think he was probably using Atari or early Apples or something. Probably Apple, because he was right in the Bay Area. But that's right, I forgot about that. But then he had those ties. He had a tie company, and there was the Jerry Garcia ties, which were part of that design. Wow, okay, I'm learning a lot here. I didn't know you were involved with the Jerry Garcia Foundation. That's fantastic, and that gives this band a whole other level of endorsement. Well, yeah. So Rainbow Full of Sound, and I put the link in there for people. But let's take a look again. They're on tour right now, in Colorado and that area. Let's see what they got coming up. Chicago, as Jair-Rohm said, in a couple of days on Friday, and then my old stomping ground. I see a typo. It's the Beachland Ballroom, right? But maybe there's a tavern also. That's true. They have a small room. But the Beachland in Cleveland, right near the beach, the beach of whichever lake that is, Lake Michigan. And then they're coming down to Delaware. And that's, as he said, when they take a break and they come back in May, they're going to do the East Coast. Delaware, Connecticut, New Hampshire, Stone Church, and then have good old Havana and New Hope. Oh, cool. So you'll see some old friends in Havana because half of New Brunswick went and moved to New Hope.
Actually, yeah, the last time I played New Hope, Chris Burke came. Chris Burke from New
Wow. He lives out there?
Well, he lives nearby. I forget exactly where. But it was definitely close enough for him to come by. Same thing with Tom Crow. He's also in the area.
That's right.
He wanted to come by. Yep.
Oh, great.
Couldn't make it that time. Yeah.
Well, I hope he gets out there this time. Folks, we're talking about some folks from New Brunswick, New Jersey, and from the Court Tavern. Both of those gentlemen at different times were the booking agents at Court Tavern, especially Tom Crow for many years. So these are the folks that got us playing and helped build that scene. So you're out with this band. Tell us a little bit. And I want to hear a little bit about what's happening with our dear friend Bob Musso and you, because you did an album about a year and a half ago, and I think you've got some stuff you're working on for this year. But tell us about your own projects right now outside of doing this tour. What's coming up for you solo?
Wow. There's more than a little bit. Let's start with Bob. Bob and I released an album last year, a trio album with Calvin Weston and a host of special guests. And we're getting finished with the follow-up to that album. So that's in the works. And also Bob and I have been in the studio recording new material for future upcoming releases. We've been doing different ensembles. The most recent was myself with Hans Tamlin on processed guitar and Yuko Togani on drums. And we also did a session with Bob, Ali Rana on drums, and Boris Nazarov on Magic 6. So we're editing and compiling those recordings now, looking for a way to assemble that into a single, very, very powerful, very representative release. And then I'm going to be starting a solo tour in June. I'll be out pretty much in the tri-state area, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, with the date also in Massachusetts. So it's kind of like Eastern Seaboard, New England kind of thing.
Sure, a little northeast circle. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
And that's in June.
Yeah, that's the first week of June. I'll be playing all of Aberhart Vapor's solo album, Pendulum.
Right.
Yeah.
Anniversary, right?
30th anniversary will be June 15th, and that will be the culmination date for the primary tour, and that will be at Shapeshifter Lab in Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn, okay.
Yeah. Before that, I'm playing festival date, the Running Festival in Central Hall, Pennsylvania, the 3rd of June, the 4th of Erie at City Gallery, the 5th, 5th or 6th in Pittsburgh, 7th is Under the Sea in Baltimore, the 8th is the Lily Pad in Cambridge, Massachusetts, And then the final date on that run is the 9th at the Gardens Art Center in Wisconsin. So, stay here. Yeah. So that is that's the beginning.
The shape of the solo tour.
Yeah.
Are those dates on your site yet?
Yeah. There's so much going on that site. I forget. Tour dates are posted. I think they're on the website. If they're not on the website, they will be soon.
Okay, great.
And
yeah. Okay. And well, that's great, folks. And folks, we apologize for the sound, but Jair-Rohm agreed to come on, like
Starbucks,
just right before the show. He's on the road, so this is a great example of musicians on the road. You dip in somewhere, and you might have some Wi-Fi. And I love that. That gives.
Wait, there was one other thing.
Yeah.
One other thing that's very, very important. Sure. I don't know if you remember. A couple of years ago, I told you about an album that I did with Ronnie Barrage and Michael Gregory Jackson, a trio album.
I remember.
Sonic
Jackson, I remember. Yep.
Right. That's finally coming out on Elliott Sharp's Zora label.
Oh, great.
So, yeah. So the final artwork and everything is just being finished up now, and that will be coming out very soon. So stay in tune with the website and other social media. I'll keep you posted on that.
That's great.
Yeah. Very excited that that's finally coming out after all this time.
That's fantastic. Well, yeah, anyone into experimental, that word is overused, adventurous music that breaks a bunch of rules, that breaks barriers, that combines all kinds of stuff. By all means, check this man out. Check out his website. And the website's great because it'll point you to some other things. You'll start learning about his work with Machine Gun and his solo work throughout the years, and work with various bands through the 80s and 90s. And then this upcoming stuff. I love that you're going to celebrate this Eberhard Weber album. Wow, that's pretty out. And it's a solo bass album, right? So you're replicating a solo bass album, is that correct?
It is the best solo bass album. Eberhard released this album 30 years ago on ECM rather. And he pioneered a lot of techniques that in my opinion, people are still catching up with. A lot of processing as well as compositional and performance techniques. So I'm thrilled and honored to have this opportunity to present this music live. It's been a dream of mine for 30 years now. Ever since I first heard the album, I was overwhelmed, and it's interesting to reflect on this. Back in the day, 30 years ago, it was my dream to be able to perform any of that music. And now I'm finally in a position where I can attempt to do justice to that recording live.
Right.
So, this is going to be a lot of fun. Let's talk about food.
Yeah, let's talk about food. Well, one more question on the show, on your solo show. Will that be the entirety of the set, the album, or are you going to do some of your own music around it?
Only the album.
Okay. Wow.
Because it's a full-length album. There's a lot of improvisation. Some of the pieces, compositionally, are quite complex.
Right.
So, this could be anything from an hour to a 90-minute presentation. Depending on what I'm up for. So, and I'm doing it all on the Omni bass, which is my new instrument. As I mentioned, I've been with Ned Steinberger now for the better part of 40 years.
Right.
And for a good 25 or so years, I was only playing electric uprights, and then around 2008, I think it was, I got my first Steinberger electric upright, and played that exclusively until a couple of years ago, really. And I have a few of his electric uprights, and a couple of months ago, Corey Redonet, his artist liaison manager approached me and suggested, why don't I have a look at the omnibus? And so, truth be told, I asked for a fretted one because I thought, yeah, how interesting would it be to be able to bow without having to think about intonation, right? So they sent me a fretted omnibus. I hated it. I sent it right back, and that was it for a little while. And then I started playing the tilted axes, Patrick Grant's marching guitar army. We're a New York City-based guitar ensemble. For those of you who don't know Patrick Grant, he's an alumnus of Robert Fripp's ensembles, and he's a very, very dear old friend of mine. He's originally from Detroit. In fact, back when you and I were in New Brunswick, Patrick, Bill Bryant, and I were together in a band called Changing Bodies, which was kind of a new wave band back at that time, pursuing record deals with CBS just like everybody else. But anyway,
Wow.
So Patrick Grant, he, over the course of the past 30 years, really established himself very solidly in the New York City scene. He also worked with Jeff, Gamelan man, Jeff Hendricks. Worked very closely with Jeff Hendricks. Patrick is a gifted composer, microphonist, multi-instrumentalist, and above all, he's a good friend. So I've been playing in his ensemble, Tilted Axes, and it dawned on me that if I had the omnibus in that ensemble, I would be able to bow. And because we have these drone pieces that are pretty much all guitar, no bass, because the bass E-bow didn't really cut it. And you can wear the omnibus like a bass guitar and march with it and stuff. So I said to Corey, I said, hey, let me try that again without frets. Let me see how I like it. I loved it. And it will make its appearance in some future Tilted Axes pop-up performances as well. So that's my new name for all of my non-Grateful Dead music.
Well, that's great, man. Can't wait to see and hear that. That's fantastic. Well, as you say, let's jump over some food. So let's introduce to people a little bit of your dietary journey, your food journey, your compassionate eating journey. You've been plant-based for many years. I want you to tell people real briefly about that and when you started and what you're doing now on this tour. Tell us a little bit about that. How long have you been plant-based and eating for the environment, etc.?
Well, I first got into vegetarianism when I was 16, which was an awfully long time ago if you do the math. And that's been my life ever since, fascinating between vegetarianism, veganism, raw veganism. That's been my cycle since the 1970s, and it works for me. Even when I was into bodybuilding, which I haven't been doing now since the pandemic, even as a weightlifter, I was always using plant-based nutrition supplements. I was fortunate enough to have trainers that were either vegan themselves or understood the benefits of a plant-based diet. So that it's always worked out for me. When I lived in Thailand from 2010 until about 2016, and I still have things in storage there. That's a whole other long story. I lived there between 2010 and 2016, and during most of that time that I was actually in country, I was raw vegan, and that was the best time of my life, really, health-wise and nutrition-wise. So now, this tour started the 22nd of March, and I decided that I would go raw vegan again for this tour. And it's been working out like perfect, just really fantastic.
That's
Like really
great.
fantastic.
That's great. And okay, so about 3 weeks on the road so far. Is that right? About 3 weeks on the road? Yeah.
Yeah, just, well, no, wait, 22nd of March. Is that 3 weeks? I don't know. I'd have to look at the calendar.
I don't even know what day it is. No, okay, it's a little over 2 weeks. Yeah, about 17, about whatever, 18, 19 days. So tell us a little bit about what you're having. Like, what's your daily food routine? Fruit, raw greens, nuts, dates. What are you doing? Seaweed.
Yeah, well, one thing is for sure. After you and I started talking about processed foods, and this is sometime last year, I guess.
Right.
So I got off processed foods entirely, um, and I do all of my shopping in the produce department again. So that has been like really beautiful for
Right.
me. What my daily regimen looks like on the road now is as soon as one thing that's really great is we get banned Airbnbs. So I have a full kitchen. So
Oh,
the first
great.
thing I do, yeah, we get into town, I go to a grocer, preferably an organic grocer, and I pick up, greens, beans. I usually have like olive oil with me, organic olive oil, seasonings. I used to take Irish sea moss in capsules, and now I buy it, in buckets, because it's completely pure in the buckets. I found all of the capsules have fillers in them, plus the capsule itself. So I've been using, the Irish sea moss not only as a nutritional supplement but also as condiment. So I do also intermittent fasting. I try to put at least 14 hours between my last meal and my first meal. And that works out like great. So, I get up, I may drink, I drink decaffeinated coffee. That's why I'm at Starbucks. And of course, I drink it black. So often what I do is I get up, I start work. I may have coffee, drink lots of water. And then when time comes around to finally have my first meal, I just take a large bowl, very large bowl, throw a bunch of greens into it with, my spices, avocado, tomatoes, whatever, cucumbers, just whatever living foods I snapped up at the grocery, olive oil, lemon juice, some seeds. It's very simple. It's very, very simple. And it's so tasty, and I'm good to go. That's usually like on show days, I do 2 meals a day on show days. I'll have fruit in between, like a banana between sets, or an apple, as a snack or something. So it's very, very simple and very nutritious meal plan. I don't like to call it a diet. That's I don't know, that has really weird radical uh, implications.
Absolutely.
So
No,
yeah,
agreed. Agreed. It's just what we do. Right. Right.
yeah. So unlike you, because I travel very lightly, especially with this band, because we have a travel van where we also carry our backline. We also carry our own PA system. So for shows that, some shows we have to put up our own PA. Anyway, so space is at a minimum. So I generally don't travel with any more than what they call a carry-on suitcase. I don't bring a whole lot of clothes. And yeah, so I just, like I said, if we know we're going to be in a certain town for 2 days, I buy enough food just that 2 days. Make sure I eat it up by the, where it's about to go, and then repeat the process the next day or the next stop. Cost is very, very low because again, I'm not buying packaged goods with and stuff like that. But, I'll get the occasional snack, the high energy, the organic trail mix sort of thing. No salt, no crazy sugars or anything like that.
Sure. And I love that so many of those things are available now. And well, yeah, as you say, unlike me traveling now, because I'm on bus tours a lot, not always, but yeah, you're right. I'm in a bus with a fridge and stuff like that, and great catering. So it's great. And it's great because I'm with artists, I'm with bands that are into that. Because you could be on a band that's all about pork roll, egg and cheese, and
Oh yeah.
smoking
Who
on the
isn't?
bus and eating all this stuff. But yeah, you're bringing me back, man, because I as we have talked about, and as you know, I did 100% raw for about a year and a half, right around 2000 till early '02, I think it was, and did a bunch of tours in the middle of that. And so you're giving me some really beautiful memories of exactly the same kind of routine. I had a little box, a little cooler type thing, like a small one that you could throw over your shoulder. And like as you're saying, I had olive oil, I had some sea salt and dried seaweed, sheets of nori and dried hot pepper and all kinds of stuff. And then every day or two, go get stuff, grapefruits and kale and spinach and all kinds of stuff, and a couple avocados, and then as you said, it's that simple. Big huge bowl with those vegetables and greens, kale, lettuce, whatever you have, scallions, hot peppers. It's amazing. And I love that you really make the point that it's that simple. And when you have that much bulk and nutrition, that's it. One big meal in the middle of the day. This is not Jair-Rohm's salad, but I think we can safely say this is like a ballpark kind
But it should be.
yeah. That's the kind of thing, though, folks. Kale, you shred up kale, man. It is so good, and But so okay, cool, and as you said, some good healthy snacks and stuff, which are every day you see new things coming out, and they're available in natural food stores, and they are raw, they are unheated, and they're not destroyed enzymes. Tell people a little bit who don't know, and give us a little guide on when you're choosing food. What's the definition of raw food? Because sometimes people hear that and they think they're not sure. What does that mean?
Definition: it's food cooked. Any grocery store in the country, you can find those boxes of organic greens, okay? Organic salad, and many varieties. Any grocery store in the country. We've been to food deserts to find that. So, in the most basic form, there you have it. That's nutritious. I mean, you have to eat the whole box to really, come up to what your standard nutrition needs to be active. Still, that in itself is just really a good start. When I say raw, I'm talking about just buying what's in the produce section. The part that's kept cooled and moisturized. Just buying that stuff, going home, washing it off, tearing it up, throwing it into the bowl. That's raw. And also I like to add seeds. You could get raw and or sprouted seeds. Throw those in as well for additional fiber and flavor and texture, and all the other great things that make eating so much fun.
Protein, high protein.
Yeah, protein. Well, that's the other thing. A lot of people don't realize that green leafy vegetables are extremely high in protein.
Thank you.
While beans and nuts are also good in protein, don't sleep on the green leafy vegetables. Kale, collard greens of any kind. Just you don't even have to like be a scientist. It says what it does on the tin, right? Green leafy vegetable. Anything that is a green leafy vegetable is going to be really good for us and very high in nutrients, especially protein. When I was home, when I was cooking, one of my primary dishes was a Middle Eastern dish known as ful medamas. And basically, it's
Love
fava
it.
beans and chickpeas cooked in spices with a parsley olive oil sauce. And I would just make a huge pot of that and store it, and that would be like the first meal that I would have every day. And sometimes I would remember I told you I started making grain-free naan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
because I'm also grain-free. So
Yeah, likewise.
yeah, and the grain-free thing, I don't know. I've been doing it this year. I don't remember exactly when I started, maybe January. It's working out for me. I mean, it's hard to say because I wasn't really having a whole lot of health issues before I went grain-free. It's just that I read Dr. Stephen Osborne's great book, No Pain, No Grain, No Pain.
Right.
Read his book, was convinced that whether I'm having issues or not, it's a good thing to do. And yeah, I haven't experienced any downsides to it, so I'm sticking with it.
I love
thought
it.
I'd try it. Figured I'd try it for a month, see what happens, and then why go back?
Yeah. No, I love to hear that, and that's going to be that still is always strange for people, and but the gluten-free thing, which a lot of people make fun of, and then there's the whole discussion of are you really celiac or not. But regardless of without getting into that, what's great about it is that it's introduced it to people, and so just the fact that people in the Western world are even have the concept in their mind that no, your daily bread and all these kind of things that convince us that you have to eat bread, you have to eat grains every day. And people are at least thinking about it and trying other grains, but also saying, wait a minute, I feel better getting rid of the bleached white flour. Maybe I could go further. And but yeah, I love it. I also, I tend to, I have a little bit of grain throughout the year. I tend to go grain free on tour and then for big chunks of time. Let me think. When have I eaten grain? I think a few days ago I have that Ezekiel bread, the bread with no flour. It's just you must have had that a long time ago in the orange bag, that Ezekiel bread. Do you know that?
Yeah, when I first came to the US the first time, it's like 1979. That was the first time I was introduced to that. Actually, it was at the George Street Co-op that I first was introduced to Ezekiel bread.
Right.
And yeah, magnificent stuff. Again, in the Osborne book, No Grain, No Pain, he brings to light something very, very important for people to know, and that is that often when doctors test for gluten sensitivity, they only test for two types of gluten. Okay, there are many, many, many more different types of gluten, and this protein, in some form or another, is found in all grains. So
Yeah. Yep.
a person may test negative for sensitivity for either of those two or both of those two forms of gluten and still be sensitive to other forms. Okay. So
Yeah.
that was the basis for his advice, just stay away from grains.
I love it. So wait a minute. Are you saying that Western medicine is pretty clueless about basic human nutrition, except for the actual specialists who've really studied it well? Yeah,
Let
that's
me
hard
put
to
it to
believe.
you this way. I'm not going to mention any names out of respect for the person's profession.
Yeah.
There are two doctors, MDs, that I've seen in recent time, who have both said to me so many words, I wish I had learned more about nutrition when I was in medical school, it was nothing more than a footnote in my
Yeah.
training. Yeah. And, because I would say things like, to the doctor, oh, I'm doing this. How do you think this would impact, these values, cholesterol values or whatever? And this is the kind of response they would have. Well, I wish I knew. So, we have to realize that we're kind of on our own, even in the case of certified nutritionists, because when I was taking care of my parents, included in their medical insurance and as part of their care plan, they were visiting nutritionists. And I would consult with these people. And, they would be advising, allowing things that I knew were detrimental to my parents' health. Things that were high in sodium or highly processed foods that would have disastrous side effects, things like that. So, you're really on your own, and you have to go from the principle of feeding your body rather than the appetite. Learn to love the foods that are good for you rather than just loving the foods that taste good.
Well, that's exactly correct. And then you get into the addictive capacities that are in grains and dairy and things like that they're discovering there are components in there that contribute to that craving. Now this is really great, and it's great that we accidentally were in touch about this today, my brother. We're in touch all the time, folks. It's Jair-Rohm and I, and just today we happened to say, and I'm on tour and I'm doing raw, and I was like, "Are you off today? Come on the show." Literally, this was very organic, as it were. But it's cool for me because I've been slowly trying to add my raw back, and as I said, I think about that time I was raw all the time. Like it comes back, and I go, man, because there is a certain level of difficulty to it. You're in this world, this crazy world, and this was 23 years ago when there was a lot of raw stuff, but the respect and the access to things has only gotten better. Tell us a little bit, if you've had the chance on this tour or before, if there's any raw restaurants that you like, because there's a few around. I remember there was a couple in New York, Quintessence, and then there was another one, I forget the name. There was one in San Fran. How about that? Have you run into any places?
Okay. Absolutely. First, I have to shout out the Vital Root here in Denver. The Vital Root.
The Vital Root. Okay.
Yep. I had the best all raw salad I can remember having in a restaurant at that place. That was really very, very good.
Okay.
It's a beautiful restaurant in a beautiful part of Denver. Tennyson district. Really, really nice. That's the place. Man,
Here it is.
what a nice place.
Wow.
Mike, did you know, Andre? Did you know Ellen met her at in New Brunswick? She lived in a convent.
That doesn't ring a bell. No.
Okay. Well, she settled in Denver, and she's come to the shows when I've been in town. She took me there, and so I want to shout out to Ellen. A big thank you to her. And in Florida, in Boca Raton, there's a place, really nice place called Bagels with a Deli. And of course, they specialize in bagels, and they have an immense deli window. I guess that's what you call it. I don't know what you call it. But anyway, they have this immense plate. It's like a huge salad bar where you can go and build your own salad. You tell them what you want, and they put it together for you in a larger way. And the selection, and again, we're talking raw as well as prepared things like coleslaw and potato salad, and all of these deli standards. Still, the raw selection in that bar, I always eat myself nearly to death. It's just fantastic. So that's Delis with a Bagel Boca Raton.
That's really great. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
say the name again. Deli's what?
Yeah, no, bagels with a deli. Let me just
Okay.
have a look also to see if I
So,
get them.
okay, in Delray Beach, yeah. So again, they have classic bagels. They have the regular white flour bagels and cream cheese and stuff
Yep.
like that. But they also have this huge salad access, huh?
Oh yeah, and
Okay.
it's really good. Fresh, mostly organic.
Okay.
Uh,
Wow.
and
See?
getting back to daily eating, I was just thinking about it. It's like my standard throughout this entire tour has been a large bowl of the organic spring mix or something similar, and avocado, some tomatoes, like I said, the lemon, olive oil, cucumber, and then my spices and condiments, which include the Irish sea moss, black pepper, coarse ground black pepper. At home, I've been using for a couple of years now something called green salt. Get to that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that like I don't use. I used to use a white sea salt uh, from a company called Meetup, and it's like we call it in Swedish. We call it flingsalt. Flingor. That's like flakes. It's like flakes of salt. And I was using that quite a bit until I discovered the green salt. Now I don't use any white salt at all. Not even the
Sea salt.
flakes. Sea salt.
Tell us
Yeah.
what's that made of? I've seen the green salt. Is that made from a sea vegetable?
That's exactly what it is. It's a
I've seen
dried and pulverized sea vegetable.
Yeah.
Nothing else. I think it's called salacia or something.
Right. I read about that. And
Yeah.
folks, if I interject for a second there, Jair-Rohm, folks, when you think about this planet, we call it Earth. It should be called water, right? Because
Yeah.
we're seriously on mostly a water planet, and the stuff that's happening just the last few years that they're discovering foods like this. Of course, there's many salty things in the oceans. This is one, but I also read about this. I forgot the name, but tell me if you know this one, Jair-Rohm. It grows on most shorelines in the world in kind of temperate and tropical zones. It's a grass that grows everywhere on Earth, and they found that the little tiny seeds of this grass are high in protein, high in omegas, high in vitamins, minerals. Have you heard about this?
Let me see now.
It's no surprise.
I'm sorry. I keep moving my MacBook because
Yeah.
I'm wearing these plastic fake leather pants,
Oh yeah.
and I don't want the heat from the MacBook to melt my trousers.
That'll bring a whole new look on stage.
Yeah, that wouldn't be nice. Let me tell you what I have found. Let me see now. What is it called? It's called wild rice. Okay. I discovered reading the Osborne book that wild rice is a grass. It's not rice. It's
Absolutely.
grass.
Yep.
It's not a grain. And so I've added that to my diet recently. Like a couple of months ago.
Sure. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, really good stuff. I'm not sure if that's the same thing.
I think that's a little different. This stuff I saw a
Yeah.
picture of. I read an article and I saw it looks like just that stuff you see in the brackish water at the edge of oceans and stuff. But you raise a great point. That is true about wild rice. It's quite a bit different of a species. And wild rice, folks, is delicious. Just soak it for about 2 days, maybe, right, in spring water. And it's amazing. If it's like you cooked it, folks, it puffs up, the shell splits open. You have this amazing, and then you can. What do you do with it? Do you put it then in a marinade, or you add vegetables, or what?
Well, no. What I do is because my big thing besides the stews that you introduced me to, I started doing Ital stew, and that's just one of my things along with the food with damas. I roast vegetables. That's like one of my big things, and often I have wild rice with roasted sweet potatoes, Brussels sprouts, carrots, that sort of thing. I'll roast anything. It's all good foods. Again, I do all of my shopping in the produce section, and nothing with a commercial, nothing in a package. Take it home and either wash it and throw it in a bowl, or put it in the oven and roast it. And it's
simple. Yeah. And folks, while we're talking about raw foods, of course, as you go up the ladder of cooking, steaming, roasting, I mean, these kinds of cooking techniques that they do cook the food, that they raise it to that temperature where enzymes to some degree are going to be damaged. I mean, again, if a quick roast, a quick steam, you are going to have some living aspect of those foods. But keep in mind, folks, the more you can do that, the more you can say, I ate mostly today stuff I prepared from its raw state. You're winning, even if it's, as Jair-Rohm is saying, a little bit of roasting. I did a little bit of grilling yesterday, and that's a high heat. It's right by the fire. But again, a couple minutes, peppers, portobellos, we had onions, and everyone knows. Think about this, folks. You know how good that tastes, but we don't do it enough, right? When you simply cook food, right? Everyone's like, man, that was the best. Try to do it more, Wow, this is inspiring, man. Tell me about this, because it's also I had to work with this when I toured Raw, and it was pretty good. I think I was 3 or 4 vegetarians on the road. How is it with your band? I mean, do you have a few other people who are into it, who are either flexitarian or they're half vegetarian? How's the support around you in the family on the road? Do people?
Well, with Rainbow Full of Sound, I've been very fortunate. While for the most part, I'm the only vegan in the band. On the Florida leg, there was one other vegan with us. That was Alex Jordan.
Okay.
He was playing rhythm guitar, and he's magnificent. He's another talent. You should get hooked to Alex Jordan. Watch out for that leg. So well, what I was getting at with Rainbow Full of Sound, the band leader, the mastermind of Rainbow Full of Sound is a guy named Waynard Scheller, great guy from Asbury Park, not a vegan, and at the same time, very interested in vegan lifestyle. And since we've been traveling together over the last couple of years, he's approaching it more and more. He's always been supportive of it because he's just like a great guy. And so, whenever we're out and the band wants to go out eat in a restaurant, they always ask me, like, well, let's find a place where you can eat something also. That's Waynard right there. Yeah. And, I don't want to be a burden to anyone. So I'm pretty much like, it's no big deal. I can get a salad anywhere, basically.
I know, right?
Yeah. So, even if it's not organic, which is another funny thing, because pretty much all restaurants anymore, they buy those, that mixed organic greens.
You're right. You're right.
You can get,
ubiquitous.
So, it's like, just, hey, give me a bowl of that. Do you have organic olive oil? You don't? I'll just have, I'll have some lemon juice. Then, if you have fresh lemons, slice of lemon, I'll have that. Because that's another thing. Certain foods you can get away with eating non-organic. Like, for instance, avocados don't have to be organic.
Right.
These foods that have, very protective outer covering, like a banana or avocado or something like that. The pesticides that are allowed by the FDA are not going to seep into the meat of that vegetable. So you can get away with some, like strawberries, apples, celery, things like that. You have to eat those organic.
You're right. Yeah. That's a good triage is the word, like that thing they do in medical, I think I learned that word as a kid on MASH. I remember looking, what the hell is triage? But that's the thing, folks, where you look at the worst, the injuries come in and they kind of go, all right, that dude right there, let's get him in there first. His arm is falling off, his heart is outside his chest, and this person only has a scratch, so we're gonna, sorry, you're gonna be next. But I think I've always thought about that when I'm shopping with organic. I kind of go, all right, strawberries, no, don't get those non-organic. They are just tons of pesticides, and as you said, certain things, apples with the wax and all the different things. But then you go up that ladder, and yes, there's things like avocados grow so well, so easily in that tropical zone. They grow, and many other things, coconuts, things like that. You can easily look this up, folks. But you also raise a great point about the socialization thing, which I'm always looking at, and I love that that's your attitude. And I would expect nothing more because you're such a gentle spirit, such a Zen guy, and and I get the same thing. We're on the road, and I have so much gratitude for it that I'm around these bands where they go, oh wait, Andre, what are you going to be able to eat? We're going to this place. Here's the menu. And same thing, I'm like, oh man, well, thank you, but as long as there's a salad, and you look real quick, or if they say it's Japanese, it's Thai, it's Indian, we just kind of know.
Yeah.
But I'm so grateful. The tour, the main tour I'm on these days is the Pat Metheny tour, and I'm so grateful that a huge amount of people on that tour are somewhere on the spectrum in this way, meaning diet. There's a vegan or two. There's pescatarians. There's people who eat chicken and other meats, but they love vegetables, and same thing though. That love from my fellow crew members is just fantastic because we often do when we get takeaway too. They go, you know what? Let's get a vegetarian place today, and it's really great to see people who love their burgers. They love something else, and they go, you know what? Let me try this. What's this? Okay, kale, sweet potato, Thai curry. Wow. So I've been touring for decades. You've been touring a bit more, but we're almost the same age. But tell me about that, like how you've seen it change. Because I mean, wow, what was it like 30 years ago when you had to give us a snapshot?
30 years ago, I was still in Sweden and touring a lot around Scandinavia and Northern Europe, Germany, England. Scandinavia specifically was a much easier place to maintain some semblance of vegetarianism. Now, I have to admit, there were periods in the 90s where I would be more on the border of vegetarian / pescatarian kind of thing. Like I would eat. In fact, there was a moment. I remember this very clearly, like it was yesterday. I was vegan, and I went on a picnic with a friend in Åland, which is, if you don't know, it's a small island between Sweden and Finland. I was there playing, I guess this was 1990 actually. I was playing a residency there with my band, and Bill Bryant was also in that band actually. But anyway, playing residency, and I went on a picnic one day with this friend of mine to the far side of the island. Beautiful, sitting on these rocks overlooking, beautiful water, and everything was just like really nice. And we had brought a picnic with us, and I had like some salad stuff and whatnot, what I was eating at the time. And she brought, in addition to everything else, some smoked salmon. And there, everybody catches and does their own smoking. So she kind of talked me into trying it, and I did, and I loved it. It was really, really good. And so from that point on, for a while, I was eating fish. Again, this is in Scandinavia, and at that point in time, pretty much everything we got was it was all locally harvested. It was very, very high quality fish. So, I would have those periods like through the 90s where I sort of went back and forth a little bit.
That's
And
great. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
to answer the question, in those days, during the periods where I was eating fish, it was very easy to get, very good, healthy food on the road throughout Scandinavia, especially when, wow, that was really impressive. Later, or during periods where I was wholly vegetarian and or vegan, I didn't find it difficult at all in Scandinavia. Now, Asia and Germany, Italy, a little more difficult. So especially Germany, Italy. It was very hard to get nutritious vegetarian food in the late 80s, the 90s.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I could see that, and Germany's funny because it's known as like one of the carnivore centers of, but yet I started touring there just 20 years ago, 2002, and it was fine that first time, and I've been many times, and Germany is now one of the veg-friendly centers, right? I mean,
Yeah.
a big part of it is, as is true around the world and in human history, we move around, and we got the nomadic thing behind me on the wall. But a big thing in Germany is a lot of people from Eastern Europe, a lot of Turkish people, a lot of people from the Arabic, Middle Eastern, Levantine section of the world, whatever the proper terms are. A lot of North Africans, a lot of Indians, a lot of Thai people. So Germany has this amazing mix of foods, but the German food. I was at a truck stop in southern Germany. We went in. I was like, "All right, what's it going to be?" Wow! And to our surprise, they had little diner like booths in the back. You can sit and a salad bar. I was like, "Wow, okay." So I go to the salad bar, going, "Okay, cool. I'm done. Salad." To my shock,
yeah.
To my surprise,
imagine. Like I started with vegetarianism when I was 16 in Germany. This was like the mid 1970s, mid early 1970s. That was a radical move.
Yeah,
because back then people were like, "Oh, so you're going to choose to starve to death," and
right.
it wasn't easy. Like I said, my first step was cutting out red meat altogether.
Right.
I was eating chicken and fish for a little while, and then I stopped with chicken and fish, and I was still eating dairy. So I would eat pizza, for instance.
Sure.
And salad like that. Yeah, that was the thing. There was always like pizza places you go to. They always had something that we call a pizza salad, which is basically shredded cabbage, I think, onion stuff. It's really good. I eat it still to this day. It's very, very good. But the point is, you would have your pizza with a salad. That was always like in Germany and pretty much, around Scandinavia. That's a thing. So yeah, as long as I was doing dairy as a teen, I wasn't about to starve to death. And it wasn't until much, much later, probably, the early 2000s, that we could safely travel far and wide as vegans and not, and even raw vegans to not be so heavily challenged. So
well, that's true, and you raise a great point though in terms of what your favorite foods are and what you're eating every day, and the cool news is because we've both read there's so many books and so many accounts of raw foodism. That's the other thing, folks. Raw food, this is not new. In fact, I'm not religious at all, and but I love looking at the different texts because we learned some human history. But in the Bible, in the Garden of Eden, they are raw foodists. I mean, they literally, it says it. They're eating the green things. It mentions that they're eating the fruits. They're eating the herbs. And when there's the fall from grace and they fall into sin, that's when God, the God character starts saying, well, go on out there, and killing is then allowed. And, there's
wait. No, but there are two really important things you're missing there.
Please.
Two very important things.
Please.
In Genesis, it says, I'm not a religious person either. It's just that I went through a period where I studied the Bible because I was raised in a religious household. And we'll leave it at that for now. But it says that God gave us everything in the earth as food, not on the earth, everything in the earth. The implication being, vegetables and things that grow out of the ground. And then part of the curse that was put on mankind at the fall, and this is the part I was hoping you were going to mention, was that we were condemned to toil for our food. In other words, to harvest and process grains in order to live. You will have to make your bread, grind your seeds for your sustenance or something. It's like some horrible curse that was put on mankind, implying that the necessity or the perceived necessity of harvesting and eating grain, it was a punishment. Okay. And
no,
yeah.
No, you're right. I forgot that part of it, and there's a whole trip that's going on about the change right there, and suddenly it's not living food, it's not raw food. So so we're talking about some biblical concepts here, which and that's just 2,000 years. Clearly, human beings were eating a highly raw diet before fire became this cooking prevalent thing. So folks, if there's something that interests you, there's some rabbit holes you can go down and read about stuff. And the other thing about early humans, we were clearly omnivores. We ate what was easy. And that's important to point out. You're here with two vegans, and we're not here to say, everyone should be a vegan, and we're that now because of a combination of things, knowing science, knowing philosophy. But let's be honest, humans, on the one hand, we're not hunting and grabbing buffaloes and stuff early on. We were gatherers. The hunter thing, I want people to really think about this. We do not have fangs. We do not have claws. We can't run faster than most things. So we ate what you can reach over and grab. Fruits, nuts, seeds, pulling fruits off of trees, eating leaves, eating the green things. Also, though, to be honest, and some vegans have trouble with this, but we ate worms and beetles, and we snuck up into a tree and took eggs, and we ate what was super, super simple and low tech. But that's mostly going to be raw plant material. So there's a lot to think about there with the raw foods. It's really the basis of our diet as humans, and the more we screw up, the further we go from something real. And again, folks, that includes an Impossible Burger. Those things are so far away from the raw essence of food and of life that, if you're going to have one, sure, enjoy it. You're doing something 1,000 times better than the meat industry. But don't get into that thing of eating Impossible Burgers every day and all that stuff. But yeah. Were you gonna say something there, Jair-Rohm?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I love Beyond Burger as much as the next person.
Yeah.
Now that I'm raw, I'm not doing it. When I gave up processed foods a couple of months ago, I cut all of that out. Still, I think it's good stuff. I Beyond Burger, not the Impossible.
Yeah, great.
That has soy in it. I don't do soy. Still, good stuff. One thing that has helped me a great deal in defining and helping to maintain my lifestyle is analyzing what it is that I like about certain foods. What is appealing to me about a hamburger, for instance, or
right,
pizza.
umami.
What is it I love so much about pizza? I could eat pizza like day in and day out. Finding out specifically what is it about that food I like, and then replicating that in something else that I'll prepare, whether it be, grain-free vegan pizza that I make at home, or um, something that's like, for instance, in the case of a burger, um, I used to make up, what was it? Like with mushrooms, like I would take mushrooms and chop them up, very finely, spice them, and then fry that, saute, actually, not fry, 'cause I don't do deep frying. Saute like really, really nice mushrooms and nice spices. And you get that texture, they're very
Amazing.
filling
Yeah.
taste. And there are a lot of other alternatives like that that don't come to mind so readily. Still, the point is, you know, just taking a minute to think about what is it I really like about that food. Sometimes you'll discover it's just the taste of garlic. You know, that's all that's really attracting you to
You
that one
know,
particular dish, that meat dish, or whatever.
that's exactly correct. Yeah, the onions and the no. I was talking with someone about this last week. How it's outside of, and someone's that's triggered by this will always point out, outside of things like steak tartare and sashimi, which is the proper name for the raw fish. Sushi is the rice, but there are things in human culture. What's that the Chilean soup with the raw fish? I forget the name. But humans do eat raw flesh from time to time, but it's 1%, folks. Usually, we take dead animal material and put plants with it for the flavor, whether it be, and salt, of course, whether it be parsley and herbs and things like that, thyme, oregano, these strong herbs, or vinegars. That's a plant-based fermented material, a living material in most cases. We put onions, garlic, these strong allium tastes. So Jair-Rohm is raising a great point that once you start thinking about, well, what do I like about this or that or this? Oh, it's actually that note. So I can do that in a marinade or some kind of, yeah. That's a great point, man. And the more people think about it. Have you heard of the book, The Language Crystal?
No,
I gotta
not at
send you.
all.
I gotta send you some info on that. It's this crazy book, but the guy is a raw foodist, and he's talking about the formation of language and how the human intellect has developed through the centuries, and he ties it in with raw food and when we went to cook food and how we changed. And I can't remember if he came up with the slogan, but one of the things in there, this is great because it's making me remember all these things when I was a raw foodist, which I will be again. And one of the slogans in there was reverse war.
Okay.
Because when you flip the word war around, you get raw.
Right.
War is raw backwards. And he has this whole, it sounds crazy to some people, but if you think about it, this guy and another book I read point out that once we started cooking, which requires vast more amounts of energy in large civilizations, in large communities, then you have to get that energy, which means you're going to fight for that energy at some point because there's a limited amount, which means you're going to, and so he shows how and then the embedded violence and negativity and energy that's in slaughtering animals. I mean, again, I know, folks, for some of you this sounds crazy, but it really isn't when we think about the things that come out of a cooked food planet, a cooked food industry. It leads to fighting over resources, much more than it would if we ate a sustainable diet. And at the end of that road is war. So again, it's a cute thing. It's kind of, and some of you might be saying, Jesus, this guy, what is he? But there's something there. So raw and war are opposite ends. And so this guy gets into that, like the power of letters and words and all this.
Yeah.
It's pretty heavy. Well, we're going to wrap in just a minute or two. Thanks so much, Jair-Rohm, for your time in the middle
Hey, thank
of the
you,
tour.
man. Thank you.
I wanted to share with the folks, and tell me if you've heard of this, Glazer Farms in Florida. You know this company?
No,
Oh, man. Okay.
Laser Organic Farms.
It fills me with joy to tell you
Organic.
about it. All raw, bro. They do mail order. nori cookie,
Wow.
yeah, nori crackers, the flax crackers, just dehydrated crackers.
Uh-huh.
They do all
Yeah,
these.
flax is amazing. I use that in a lot of cooking.
Look at this stuff in the middle there, date balls with
Yep.
almonds and all this. So I've never been, but I hear if you go to this place down in Florida, it's all this stuff, and it's all these people who have been eating raw foods for decades. But yeah, I'll send you their link. We used to carry it in our
Okay.
store, but and they do like recycled plastic containers and stuff, and you can recycle them. I'm sure someone's saying, well, there's plastic. Well, that's the trap of the modern world. But if it's plastic
Mhm.
with recyclable capacity and this amazing low impact on the environment food, then you're doing some different stuff. But look at those beautiful pictures, folks. The
Yeah,
colors
fantastic.
and
Wow.
yeah. This one right here. Let me see if I can bring it back up. They make these nori. Oh, those right there, bro.
Oh,
Those
that looks great. Yeah,
uh,
nori
t-
crackers.
totally raw.
Hmm.
It's I think
Yeah.
yeah, sunflower seeds, sesame seeds, and a bit of nori and some stuff there.
Yeah, we actually had that when I was a child. Like I lived in Okinawa from the age of what was it, 6 to 10, something like
Wow.
that.
Okay.
And this was in the 1960s. So Okinawa was still, it was like time travel. That was 100, 200 years behind. Still, the nori crackers were like a big treat with us as kids.
Right.
And yeah, so I've been eating those pretty much all my life. Fantastic.
That's amazing. Well, I'm so honored to bring that back to you because that's an old company. I mean, we had they're the real deal because it was we had our store 95 to '05, and that was a staple, and we had it at the front. As soon as you walked in the store, our first end cap, as it's called, that we had dedicated it to that company. So we were pushing the raw thing pretty hard. So it's awesome. So well, it's been great, bro. And we've got some links up there. Jair-Rohm is on tour right now with Rainbow Full of Sound. They're doing some Grateful Dead music. And they're associated with the Jerry Garcia. What's it called? The Jerry Garcia Foundation.
Jerry Garcia Foundation. Yeah.
Foundation. And they got dates going on right now. They're in Chicago on Friday and a couple other places. The dates are up there. And then another little leg in the Northeast in May, correct?
Yes.
And then because he's just bursting with musical energy, he's got it. I love it. He's going to be out there a lot this year. In June, Jair-Rohm is going out solo tour and doing a complete Eberhard Weber album, beginning to end, which has a 30-year anniversary on June 15th. Tell me the name of the album again.
The name of the album is Pendulum.
I'm ashamed to say I don't. While I know some Eberhard's music, I don't know that album, so I'm going to start listening to it. But
Yeah,
anyway,
it's beautiful.
he's going to be out on tour in June, including at Shapeshifter, which has a great bass history. Matthew Garrison is one of the people who started that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, he's the one.
He started, and
Matt Garrison, Shapeshifter.
And tell folks who his dad is, or was.
Well, his dad is was the great Matthew Garrison, the bass player with the last John Coltrane quartet, quintet, and yeah,
Amazing.
A great pioneering bassist.
And I know you know, but we're just running at the end here. Jimmy, you mean, right? Jimmy's the dad. Matthew.
Oh, sorry.
Matthew.
Yeah,
no. Obviously, you know that. But Matthew's your friend, the son of.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think, man, he is such a badass, and what he's doing with Shapeshifter. I've not been there yet, but I watch videos all the time. Mm-hmm. Dear friends of mine, like Vernon Reed plays there, Dave Fusinski, Percy Jones just did the thing there with Pact.
Yeah.
Have you seen this band, Pact, with Percy Jones?
I haven't had a chance yet.
You heard of them, though? Yeah.
Yeah. Because I've been a big fan of Percy all along. But Elliot Sharp and I are playing at the Rotunda in Philadelphia on the 2nd of December.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, and Elliot's been doing a project with Percy, and
right.
Who else is on that? Mark Repo, is he on that as well?
Yeah, and he had something with it was with Wendy Eisenberg not long ago, and who sat in for David Torn.
That was like a couple of days ago. Yeah.
Yeah, right. They just did something, And of course, Packed is P for Percy, A for Alex Skolnick, K for Kenny Grahowski, and T for Tim Motzer, all dear friends of mine, and I've toured with a couple of them. But all to say that Shapeshifter, folks, if you're anywhere near New York and that's not on your radar, wow, check out Shapeshifter, support them.
Very important.
Jair-Rohm's going to be there, and that is the New York City gig in June. Is that
for the solo?
Okay, great. So
solo project. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, there's one other thing. Yeah, in July, also at Shapeshifter, 21st of July, I'm doing my trio with Reeves Gabrels and Jonathan Kane.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's the continuation of Doom Dogs trio that Reeves and I did with Lance Carter back in the 90s.
Wow, that's beautiful, man. Yeah. And well, speaking of Lance, and I put this link in the chat too. And what's cool is people watch this later, so they'll see some of these. But this is another page where you can learn about Jair-Rohm's history. It's called bandmind.com, and it's got just a slice of what this man has done. And you can see there's Abe Speller with John King and Jair-Rohm, and there's things with Elliot Levin, my dear friend, the sax player. There's other.
Wait, this is Andre. I've never even heard of this site.
Oh yeah,
I've never even heard of it.
Oh no, look at that, bro! You got fans out there.
What is this?
Putting your shit together. There's a video of you teaching us how to use amplitude.
Oh my gosh, that's from Thailand.
There's
from
all
like
kinds of
all
kinds of stuff. Yeah. And there's a nice
send me a link to this.
I will. And it's in the chat. There's a nice bio and talks about you living in Germany, coming to New York in '78. Hey man, a lot of us out here are so proud to know you and so happy that you're it's a great page. I don't know who did it either, but yeah. But I'll put that in the chat. And folks, also in the chat is Jair-Rohm's own page, which is going to have everything we talked about today. His dates now, his dates in July and June, and his wild journey musically. So it's all in there. But yeah, man, bro, thank you for jumping on, and we'll do this again. And
oh yes,
especially when you and Elliot are doing something. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have to get together and do some music.
We've talked about it for so long, but yeah, I think this is the year. This is the year because I'm aligning a lot of stuff myself, and I'll close by telling you that some really great news. I was at the Big Ears Festival. You know about that, right?
Right.
We got to get you on that, and I connected with the guy who runs it all and stuff, which was just amazing. The synergy that went on at this festival, man. I'll tell you this. I'll keep it a very quick thing. I saw a show. The first show I saw was Antonio Sanchez, his great ensemble. Antonio is one of Pat Metheny drummer for 20 years, on and off for 20 years. And I walk out of the show and I run into Moore Mother, who I'm a huge fan of, the avant-garde hip hop political genius. And she says, well, I'm playing in this little gallery in a few minutes with Lonnie Holly. And I go in, and who's standing right there? Glenn Max, who used to book the Knitting Factory for 15 years. Okay. You know him. Wow. He was the doorman and the booking agent. There he is. I haven't seen him in 10 years, and I saw him in London when he was booking the Royal Festival Hall. So there he is, standing next to him, and they hadn't even seen each other yet, is Ashley Capps, who founded Bonnaroo and the Big Ears and books the whole thing. And I'm like, wow, I'm not even trying here. And so I ended up hanging and talking to those guys and hanging with Glenn the whole weekend. It was great. But it was just, I'm just bringing this up to tell people, look for connections, look for things lining up. Be respectful that the universe bounces stuff around if you're paying attention. The whole weekend went great. The day I was leaving the festival, I get an email. Hey man, are you back in town in Asheville Saturday night? Can you open for Dan Deacon? I was like, what? Well, yes, of course. Dan Deacon, do you know him?
I know of him, yes. Absolutely. You do,
yeah. That dude has figured it out because he's got a way that he does these huge tours, has huge fans around the world, and he's doing this cool, very strange, I don't know what to call it, pop music with a little bit of dance, with a little bit of experimentalism. But he does a ton of weirdo synthesizer stuff in the midst of it. But he brings people in because there's some melody, there's some crowd participation. He's got the crowd doing all kinds of stuff. So he's got this beautiful vibe and this positive fan base. I'm blown away how cool these people were. So I played to about 500 people Saturday night, which I can't believe, doing solo weird electronic music that they got.
Yeah.
That's the part that blew me. I would glance out there once in a while, no one on their phone. They got everything. So I want to end on that blast of positivity that for you and what you do and all the things you just mentioned, working with Bob, working with Elliot, doing your own thing, the people are out there.
Yeah.
They are.
Oh, there's definitely. They're out there and they're waiting.
You know. Yeah. Our job, and this is where we got to keep getting together, is reaching them, letting them know, but they're out there, man, and they want something different. They want to support artists directly, and they want to. So there's a lot of positive out there. So, well, good luck, man. Good luck on the rest of the tour, and we'll see you. We'll see you when we see you.
Yes, Sanjay.
We'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Awesome. Beautiful. Love you, man. Folks.
Yep.
See you next week. Thank you for being here, folks. And don't forget, even if you just do it once a week, take a day. Don't eat animals. Don't eat processed food. Take care of your body, even if it's once a week, because you'll feel that difference. And then you might do it a day and a half a week.